Over time, I've grown to like Tulsi Gabbard more and more. And I have to wonder if the people on her staff watch videos from disaffected liberals and moderates for whatever reason. Now, initially, it was the anti-war thing. That's really, really big for me. I think it's a waste of money. If you want to talk about universal health care and college, the first thing we should do is talk about reappropriating, or I should say, fixing governmental problems and trying to spend money better. Recently, Tulsi Gabbard said it is not a conservative thing to get mad when the government spends money poorly and mismanages finances. One of the biggest arguments I've made against many of these left-wing activists has been, if you want these programs, the first thing we should do is an audit of where we're spending all this money as a country, and then get rid of these programs that haven't worked. We need a complete audit of the system, in my opinion, right? What government programs work and don't work? How can we approve ones that are kind of working or aren't? And can we stop some and restart some? Anyway, long story short, war is bad for a lot of reasons, and I really like that. But Tulsi recently did an interview with Dave Rubin, and I gotta admit, I haven't seen most of it. I've just seen a lot of snippets, and already I'm greatly appreciating Dave Rubin for having this interview, and it's very different from what she does with, say, Joe Rogan. Dave is in the weeds. He's in the politics. He understands this lost liberal space. And by sitting down with Tulsi, he actually got to talk about things that are extremely important to me, and I know many of you. First and foremost, Tulsi Gabbard slams Democrats over identity politics. Now, she did do this with Michael Tracy. So another reason why I really appreciate her. Check this out. She also says in the interview that the Democrats are essentially pushing this kind of open borders, and that we have to have borders if we're going to be a country. That doesn't make you an overt, hardcore nationalist. It just makes you a regular American who understands why we as a community protect our borders. That's Tulsi Gabbard. She's progressive on a lot of issues. More importantly, though, this warms my heart. Listen, Tulsi Gabbard said that she views abortion as in a libertarian way, restricting what the government can and can't do. I completely agree. So that's why I'm like, I wonder if her staff watches my videos, because one of her tweets went out saying the word smear merchant, which comes from Carl Benjamin. But anyway, here's the thing. I've always been on the side of begrudgingly accepting choice. I would prefer it if abortions didn't have to happen, but I also recognize there should be limits on what the state can or can't do, and it gets into really murky ethical and moral territory. And look, I've had really great conversations with Glenn Beck, Steven Crowder, for instance. So I'm not going to act like my morality is right or wrong. I'll completely admit it is one of the most difficult and challenging issues to even discuss. But think about what Tulsi is saying when she says no third trimester, abortion. She's taking a pro-choice but not pro-abortion stance. It's complicated. Things have gotten really weird. But I will stress this. In my last conversation with Crowder, he said the Democrats are advocating for abortion up to the point of birth, which moderate, old, I don't know how you describe it. People like me are that's too much. You can't, I don't want to get too much wrapped up on this. I want to talk about identity politics. But this shows Tulsi is in a sane and rational space. The most important thing about all of this is not whether or not Tulsi is right or wrong on these issues. It's not whether or not the minimum wage should be increased or whatever her positions are. It's that you can see she's trying to find a space where she can bring people together. I really do believe that. And furthermore, the most important thing, I've had a lot of conversations about this, I really do prefer our commander-in-chief to have military experience. There's Dan Crenshaw, there's Tulsi Gabbard. Disagree with both of them on a lot of issues, tend to agree with more with Tulsi, but I really do respect and appreciate that a potential commander-in-chief, albeit long shot, we know how the game is played, but somebody with real military experience, to me, should be the one leading the military. I get it though. There's a lot of other issues. Trump is a trade man, right? He's a businessman, so that is important as well. I lean towards, if you're going to run the executive branch, law enforcement, DOJ, etc., I'd prefer somebody with military experience. Well, let's read about what Tulsi Gabbard said about identity politics. Before we do, head over to youtube.com/TimCastIRL. I have a new channel, okay? I just put out a video. It's a van tour of my van. If you want to see what the van is like and the components and everything, and I talk about it, TimCastIRL, subscribe, check out the video, and I'm also looking for somebody who wants to manage a daily video series. So I need somebody who can film and edit, and if that's you, hit me up, send me an email, but send me things you've edited. I can't just take on somebody who has no experience. But let's read. Tulsi Gabbard slams Democrats over identity politics, selfish, political gain. Daily Wire reports Tulsi Gabbard criticized members of her own party on Monday for using identity politics to advance their own political agenda over the unity of American citizens. Quote, I think that the identity politics that are being used to further divide us, to further drive separations between us, are purely for selfish political gain is a real danger, Gabbard told Dave Rubin during an appearance on the Rubin Report. It undermines that unity that we have that doesn't come with groupthink or saying, well, hey, we're all exactly the same, we think the same way, she continued. Not at all. It's that unity we have in recognizing our diversity and our strength in who we are as Americans and the principles and freedoms that make up the bedrock of our country. I want to make this point. Diversity is a strength. However, these fake social justice people have bastardized what it's supposed to mean. Diversity is supposed to mean that if you are a mixed race person from Hawaii, say Tulsi Gabbard, you have a very different view of the world from a rural American white working class individual. That's diversity. It's not so much about the skin color. It's about your experiences and your opinions. It's very true that a white liberal in New York and a white farmer in Iowa are going to have very, very different opinions. That is part of diversity as well. What truly brings us together and what truly makes us strong is that we have a massive competition of ideas. However, these weird social justice types that have taken over what it's supposed to be are trying to homogenize everything, and that's the opposite of what diversity is. To them, it's all about the color of your skin. Wrong. While I admit, right, I think it's fair to say, if you have a different color skin, you'll have a different perspective on certain, experiences because of being in a minority or majority position. However, what's most important is that we talk about the ideas. I'm absolutely willing to entertain the merits of, intersectional feminism in a conversation and debate. However, many of these people don't want to do it. So if you're going to talk about what diversity really means, I'll throw it back to what I said about Tucker Carlson. He did a segment where he said diversity isn't a strength. Well, he was wrong. And Tucker Carlson exemplifies why it is. He's willing to have on different people of different backgrounds and different opinions to challenge those ideas. It is that marketplace of ideas, the competition, that allows good ideas and bad ideas to grow or shrink or, be dismissed. Sometimes good ideas get trashed and sometimes bad ideas grow. That's part of a marketplace of ideas. And that's what diversity is supposed to mean. That if you're like Tulsi or you're like me, we'll have different opinions based on our lives, and that allows us to make a really strong and robust nation and culture. Let's read a little bit more. Gabbard's remarks came after she was asked about the first of the Democratic National Committee's debate series, where 3 of her presidential challengers spoke Spanish while appearing on the debate stage. The move was largely seen as pandering to Spanish-speaking voters. Tulsi goes on to mention the story. She says that she was doing a 4th of July parade. She said we were in a 4th of July parade, a bunch of them actually. It was right after that first set of debates, and it made an impact on me. There was a woman who was sitting with her family and friends at the end of one of the parades. We stopped and we said hi, and she was from Central America, and she made it a point to pull me aside, and she put her hands on my arms, and she was very serious, and she said, "Whatever you do in a future debate, don't speak Spanish," Gabbard continued. She found that to be so patronizing and blatantly so. They say while the Hawaii Congresswoman barely stood out amid the crowded stage during the first set of debates, she made waves during the second debates after she challenged Kamala Harris's record on criminal prosecutions. Glorious. Truly one of the most glorious things I have ever seen. To see the establishment and their lies take a hit that bad on TV, it was trending, it was incredible. They say it was largely considered to be one of the night's most critical moments and fruitful lines of attack. In the aftermath, Harris took a significant hit in the polls. And that is why Tulsi needed to be on that stage, and that is why I think the DNC is full of it and not letting her on the debate stage in the coming debates. Hopefully she'll be in the next set. We'll see what happens. However, Gabbard failed to qualify for the third debate in Houston, Texas. While she was able to swiftly meet the fundraising threshold, she was ultimately 2 DNC-approved polls short of receiving an invitation to participate, and that is BS. It's so arbitrary. We don't know. What are the guidelines? Look, she even says arbitrary. Gabbard's campaign slammed the DNC for issuing arbitrary rules and further urged for transparency within the process, especially when it comes to which polls the organization considers to be certifiable. Here's the thing. I really, really like Tulsi Gabbard as a candidate. I think she has a lot of charisma. I think she's tough. And I think she's being sane and rational and talking about what Americans actually care about, especially for the Democrats. Unfortunately, the media does not like her. And unfortunately, the activist base will do everything to smear her. Just like Trump. You know, Trump meets with bad people. You know, he meets with dictators or whatever. And the media cries foul on the resistance and says he's ponying up to dictators. Admittedly, Trump himself criticized Obama for many of the same things. But maybe he's learned an important lesson. Maybe Trump was critical of Obama because he wasn't sitting in the hot seat. And maybe he's, you know, evolved on the issue, which is fair. I think it's funny to point out the change. But at the same time, if Trump's now recognizing he needs to meet with these people, well, good. The media doesn't care, though. They'll smear him anyway. Tulsi met with Assad. Difficult choice, because leaders have to make difficult decisions. She also, my understanding, is met with Trump. Good. Talking is better than fighting. And if we can avoid fighting, we can maybe get through war and conflict and crisis with, you know, minimal collateral damage. One of the biggest fears I have is that war will stop us from reaching the stars. It's one of the answers to Fermi's paradox. If you're not familiar, it's the question of how, you know, if the universe is so big, where is the other intelligent life? And one of the proposed solutions is intelligent life destroys itself. We are one planet, but we're divided up amongst many different cultures and nation states, etc., countries. And the prospect of war wiping us out is serious. So when you have leaders who are willing to make difficult decisions and make concessions to bad people because it could prevent something worse, perhaps the right decision is a difficult one. And not everybody will be completely happy, but it could prevent our total destruction. I believe we're headed towards a one world government. I really do. I know a lot of people don't like that, but listen, I'm not saying that we're going to have a one world government with like an authoritarian regime opening up all the borders and destroying everything. I think it's going to be more so international trade lines. There will probably still be borders to a great extent, but trade is going, you know, it's capitalism and trade and the market, which has pulled people out of poverty. Once the rest of the world, you know, catches up in poverty is in rapid decline globally. And that is going to drive us to a very, I guess I can't really describe it the way I think it is, but look at Star Trek. Once you get beyond scarcity and technology makes, you know, for complete abundance, then things start to matter less and less in terms of, you know, an authoritarian regime dictating who can do or say what. Okay, I better stop myself before I start getting into the sci-fi realm and bring it back to the point about Tulsi. Look, I showed you 3 stories. It was really, really great that you went on Dave Rubin, and I'll make this point about Dave. Joe Rogan does great conversations, but Dave is political, like wholly so. So a conversation with Dave is going to be more fruitful for me when I'm trying to understand Tulsi's positions. When it comes to life and choice, I believe Tulsi is absolutely in the right place. Moderation, safe, rare, legal, you know, whatever the saying was, and restrictions on 3rd trimester. Then she's got securing borders, identity politics is divisive. Come on, man. If you're a conservative, if you're a moderate, if you're a centrist, if you're a libertarian, and even to an extent, if you're a MAGA, you know, Trump-loving MAGA guy or lady, or you're a leftist, I think you can understand why people like me like Tulsi Gabbard and think she's the right choice. You know, it'd be really epic. And maybe it's naive, but if Trump replaced Bolton with Tulsi, and, you know, if Trump brought on somebody like Tulsi and Yang into his administration to fill in the gaps where moderates are upset, I think that would be like a groundbreaking historical thing. That would be incredible. But we'll see. I don't know. John Bolton is a war hawk. He's like a remnant of the Bush era. You know what? I think I've said what I need to say on this video. I don't want to just start reiterating myself. But the point is, I've donated to Tulsi. I've made many videos. You know I'm biased because of the politics she's holding. I've highlighted her in other videos, and there it is. I think, you know, I rarely like making any kind of, you know, pushing any support for any kind of candidate. But this is speaking to exactly what I've been saying for a long time. So maybe Tulsi listens to Dave and she listens to like the lost liberals, the people who are like, where did the Democrats go? And she's the one with principles who stood up to the DNC and is now calling out the absurdity that is the Democratic pandering. Okay. I'll stop here. Next segment will be at 4 p.m. youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all there. It is a different channel.